For the first time in NASCAR history, we will be racing on a road course under the lights tonight for race 15 at 36. We will be at Infineon Raceway for the running of the Sonoma 350K. Last week, we were out in the Pocono Mountains at the Pocono Roval, where Dylan Murray and Tony Stewart engaged in a pretty solid back and forth in the late stages of this event. However, Dylan Murray ran out of fuel on the last lap, allowing Tony Stewart to cruise to victory lane virtually uncontested. Dylan Murray did keep the regular season points lead despite finishing 40th, because Jimmy Johnson was caught up in an early crash involving Jack Sprague early on in the event. So Tony Stewart ended up picking up his second victory of the season, joining Matt Kenseth and Dylan Murray as the other two drivers to have multiple victories on the season so far. Let's go trackside.
We're at a 2-mile road course, the Infineon Raceway, for another NASCAR Winston Cup race. This course should present quite a challenge to these drivers. Wouldn't you agree?
This track really shows off a driver's talents. This is truly a course where your skill alone can mean the difference between finishing first and 41st.
The Coca-Cola car will be looking to break his poor finish record at the road courses.
You know, I spoke to him in the garage earlier about his chances today. He feels pretty confident that they're a top 10 car. Now let's see if he can take care of his car to the end.
Kevin LePage really needs a good finish in this race. He's got a long way to go on the points list.
Yeah, those guys have been working so hard this year. It's a shame it really doesn't show in the points. Just seems they can't keep that car out of trouble on race day. And maybe their luck will change today.
Bill Elliott is in a slump at the road course with a string of unimpressive finishes.
When the green flag drops for this one, everybody has a chance to win. It just hasn't been his day yet at a road course. Who knows? Maybe this will be it.
Gentlemen, start your engine. And here's the starting lineup for the race. In the front row are the Pfizer 4 and the 24 car. In the second row are the Dale Jr. Chevrolet and the Home Depot Chevrolet. The Coca-Cola car, this season's point leader, will start the race from 6th place. In row 4 are the Lowe Chevrolet and the Sterling Marlin Dodge. Rounding out the top 10 starting spots are the Alltel Dodge and the Singular Wireless Chevrolet. The 6th row has the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet and the Cheerios Dodge. In row 7 are the U.S. Army Pontiac and the Stagger 2 Dodge. Starting the race from row 8 are the M&M's 4 and the DeWalt Power Tools 4. And in row 9 are the Valvoline Pontiac and the Tide Pontiac. Starting in row 10 will be the Georgia Pacific Dodge and the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. In row 11 are the Interstate Battery Chevrolet and the UPS Ford. In row 12 are the Caterpillar Dodge and the America Online Chevrolet. Row 13 finds the 02 car and the 57 car. The 14th row has the Motorcraft Ford and the Team Rusty Dodge. In row 15 are the Net Zero Pontiac and the Pennzoil Chevrolet. Starting the race from row 16 are the Kodak Max Film Pontiac and the 60 car. Row 17 has the 27 car and the UAW Delphi Chevrolet. Starting in row 18 will be the Kellogg Chevrolet and the Citgo Ford. In row 19 are the 42 car and the BAM Racing Dodge. In row 20 are the Dodge Dealers UAW Dodge and the Dodge Dealers UAW Dodge. Back in row 21 we have the Granger Ford and the Target Dodge. And rounding out the field is the Hooters Ford.
History will be made tonight as we have a road course race under the lights down in wine country located in Napa Valley, California. The winner will be in victory lane and have the ability to taste some of this country's greatest wine. Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon, two drivers who are notably pretty successful at road courses. Jeff Gordon is the all-time wins leader when it comes to active drivers at road courses, but you got to look out for guys like Robbie Gordon. He's pretty strong on road courses. Tony Stewart, he won last week at the Pocono Roval. Jerry Nadeau qualified on the pole last week at the Pocono Roval. A lot of drivers you got to watch out for today. 27 laps, Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon bring him down. We are green at Sonoma. Ooh, tight squeeze already. Dylan Murray tried to go to the outside of Stewart in the dirt. Contact. A lot of contact there. Air between Dylan Murray, Tony Stewart, and Earnhardt Jr. Basically, if you're not inside the top 5-ish, actually not even that, maybe top 3. Oh, contact. Gordon and Stewart get together coming out of turn 7. Stewart stuck the nose inside on Jeff Gordon. Remember, those two got together early on at a Watkins Glen race back in 2000 that led to a verbal confrontation between the two. And because of that, Dylan Murray got into the 6 of Mark Martin.
Number 6 is putting a block on you. Best place for him is in your rear view mirror. Run it third, buddy. Clear.
So already very chippy at the front of the field between the top 4. Jeff Gordon escapes to lead lap number 1. Remember, probably the biggest key in this race is how clean keep your car clean. That means keep your tires clean, keep your brakes clean. More importantly, arguably keep your car clean. Especially if you're in traffic behind a car in front, or if you're out, coming out of pit road, or if you overshoot a corner and go into the dirt. Stuff like that can really ruin a guy's day. Jeff Gordon escapes with the early lead. He has had plenty of success over the years at these road courses. His last win here was back in Sonoma in 2000. Jeff Gordon almost got turned there off of that last turn. Luckily, Dylan Murray tucks in behind Jeff Gordon. Tony Stewart playing pretty aggressive with Dylan Murray on the outside. But it looks like Stewart might have the momentum. Dylan does have the line, though.
Watch it. There's a car you let him by. He's going to make things tough on you. They're on both sides.
Definitely one of the biggest. There's a lot of things you got to look out for. Obviously, some drivers might run this as a one-stop race or a two-stop race, or might just even come in for fuel, depending on how their race is going. Obviously, pit strategy with the way some cautions fell last week, as Dylan Murway continues to overrun turn 10. You can see that's how much time he loses to get to Gordon, but that wasn't the case this lap, as Dylan Murway tried to get the lap. He had the preferred line, but Gordon just had the momentum. Is out front, the top 5 is Jeff Gordon, Dylan Murway, Tony Stewart, Mark Martin, and Sterling Marlin, the top 5. Dylan Murway has the line, has the spot. Is he clear going into turn 4? Yes, he is. Dylan Murway to the point here at Sonoma. He's had a lot of poor finishes so far in the past couple weeks. His best finish, arguably since his victory back at Atlanta, was second at Texas. Since then, it's kind of been an inconsistent mess. He had a couple DNFs. His last DNF obviously came at Charlotte when he was in that crash with Rusty Wallace, which Jeff Gordon won that race on a great pit call from crew chief Robbie Loomis, earning his first win of the year. And speaking of which, Dylan Murway is out front, and he is pulling away from Jeff Gordon bit by bit, kind of similar to how Michigan played out. Except Gordon kind of is in his mirror a lot easier than the Michigan race. He's more or less in his mirror. You can kind of see him on the bottom. See his little marker on the racetrack. Seems like a openly bit of an aggressive opening lap between the top 5, but so far it seems to have mellowed out. Dylan Murway bouncing off Dale Jr. and Tony Stewart on lap 1. Tony Stewart forcing his way in turn 7 on Jeff Gordon, causing Dylan Murway to get into the side of Mark Martin. Out front, Dylan Murway's smacked the wall incredibly hard. He has seemed to settle down here, and he's pulled away to a 3.5-second lead on Jeff Gordon. Let's go on board Dylan Murway for a lap. Kind of see there. Arguably, probably the 3 best passing zones. You're going to see a lot of drivers make passes tonight. Obviously, turn 10 is a big one. Turn 11 and the hairpin. The hairpin will probably be the biggest place you can use a bumper. Same with turn 7, arguably. Those are the 3 best passing zones. And the top of the hill as well, if you kind of clip the track a little bit and clip the rumble strips. But everywhere else, you're going to have to use the bumper a lot at this road course. It wasn't like when we raced at Pocono last week. You had a lot of high-speed sections of the racetrack. Obviously, turns 1 through 3 were high speed. The S's were more technical. Probably the only technical part of that whole course was in the S's back at the Pocono Roval. Whereas here, this whole course is a technical masterpiece. You got to set up your car. If you set up your car for the hill section and you set up your car for the downhill run through the S's, you're going to have a fast race car. As you obviously see right here. Dylan Murray has all but ran away from Jeff Gordon. They just got to the out of turn 10. Dylan Murray is getting out of the hairpin now. As Dylan Murray has opened up a 7-second gap now on Jeff Gordon. 20 laps left in this race. Typically, some of the road courses, well, most of the road courses this year are going to be more or less sprints than sprint events versus some of the oval races where there's a lot more laps, a lot more endurance, a lot more you have to build a good car type races. Out front, Dylan Murray again is pretty much checked out. He doesn't have a car in his mirror. The closest competitor currently is Jeff Gordon. He just got into the S's. Dylan Murray is out of the S's going into turn 10. And then right down to 11. Then out of turn 11 and the sprint for home. You got several drivers making their way through the hairpin now. Dylan Murray has opened up a 8-second lead on Jeff Gordon as Earnhardt Jr. has made his way up to 4th after that initial battle at the start. Kind of surprised we haven't seen, we'll probably see green flag pit stops if I predict maybe the next couple laps or two is when we'll see them. See cars coming down pit lane. Let's do a good old-fashioned Friday night wine country crank it up.
Bring it in when you're ready. We're in our pit window.
I don't know what they did to that 64 Or team tonight, but they are gone. Jeff Gordon just got out of turn 11, but he is 11 seconds back. And arguably, probably in the next lap or two, he'll probably catch the lap traffic by himself at this road course. That's insanity. That is honestly insanity with how fast that car is. It's borderline criminal, I'd argue.
You gotta bring it in. We're way low on
I guess they're trying to maybe stretch some fuel here for Dylan Murway. They'll pit next time, dude. You got to pit next time. We can't do this. We can't stretch because that's what kills us in these races, dude. You got to bring it in next time by. 10-4. And even then, Dylan Murway running as fast as he has, he's opened up a 16-second lead by himself over Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart, who are battling for second. And they've had some interesting moments, other than that little moment in turn 7. Obviously, they had that moment there, but Tony Stewart has kind of tried to creep his nose in on Gordon, but every time Gordon pulls away. Other than with how fast Dylan Murway is going, Jeff Gordon's probably his biggest competitor at these road courses. And here comes Dylan Murway with a couple back markers for green flag stops. First stop of the night. For the 64 team. And even then, Dylan Murway still comes out with the lead. That's how much of a cushion he's developed over this 16-lap run. In fact, next lap or so, we'll go ahead and take a look at the race rundown up to this point. Dylan Murway has just murdered the competition up to this point tonight. It was a pretty physical first lap. Mark Martin started on the pole. But since then, it has pretty much been the Dylan Murway show here at Infineon. Going through turn 10, several other drivers are beginning green flag stops. And by several, I literally mean the rest of the field. As they're going to the more brighter section of the racetrack. Kind of another thing we forgot to note is the further away you go from the start-finish line, there's a lot more darker spots on the racetrack, especially over in the short chute and going through the first half of the S's as you make your way down. Kind of surprising that it hasn't played a lot of havoc with vision for these drivers. As you see Dylan Murway trying to work on putting Brett Bodine a lap down. Can't quite get the momentum off the 7. Outside, going outside. Don't let him fuck you up, dude. There's Dylan. He's all over the back of that 11 car now. And had to use the door to get by him. And, almost a close moment there. Dylan Murway nearly ran Brett Bodine into the tires at the entrance of pit road. Luckily, Brett Bodine was able to get out of it. And as you see the top 5, Dylan Murway is all but gone. 14 seconds. in the second half of tonight's Sonoma 350K. First ever night race on a road course. Under the lights here at Sonoma. Remember, they did install California did allow the track to install a lighting fixture for this race, which was a massive, massive undertaking to allow for all the fans to get maximum viewing of all the drivers and to just light this place up. Got Dylan Murway trying to get by the 0-0 with Jack Sprague. Maybe put him a lap down. Goes wide. Gets back on. Doesn't lose any time. So while we're here, let's go ahead and look through the race stats of this event so far. We'll do that real quick. Dylan Murway has led the most laps up to this point. Jeff Gordon is second, Tony Stewart third, Mark Martin fourth, Sterling Marlin fifth, Earnhardt Jr. in sixth, Kurt Busch seventh, Ryan Newman eighth, Jimmy Johnson in ninth, and Robbie Gordon rounding out the top 10. Matt Kenseth 11th, Michael Waltrip with a solid top 15 run tonight, Johnny Benson with a good run, running 13th, Avi Labonte, Dale Jarrett, Jerry Nadeau running in 16th, Kenny Wallace, Ricky Craven, Elliott Sadler, and Kyle Petty with a solid top 20 run so far tonight. Looking through the rest of the field, Kevin Harvick struggling with a tight condition on his car. Hoping to fix it on this next stop. And really tough day for both the Everham cars, having to start towards the back of the field after qualifying earlier today. Then we look through, you got Casey Mears running 36th, and then Jack Sprague about to become the next car one lap down. So we'd like to remind you that next Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern will be the final race of the NASCAR on Fox portion of the season before NBC and TNT take over at the Brickyard at Dover Downs International Raceway for the running of the MBNA Armed Forces Family 400, which will feature a unique Salute to America pre-concert before the race. Again, you can catch the green flag at about 1 o'clock Eastern. There are artists that are rumored to perform there. And at Indy, when NBC takes over, obviously Lee Greenwood is slated to perform at Dover and alongside Bruce Springsteen. John Mellencamp is rumored to perform at Indianapolis during the Salute to America there on 4th of July weekend. John Mellencamp and Bon Jovi rumored to perform both of those at Indy, while Lee Greenwood and Bruce Springsteen will be performing at Dover. That will be in the next couple weeks. Mellencamp and Springsteen and Greenwood will be at Dover. Mellencamp will be at Indy. And while we're looking here, very tough night for Kurt Busch. About to fall a lap down after starting up front. Not the type of race he was expecting. He's had several off-track excursions. Dylan Murway will put Mike Skinner one lap down. As we reach 10 to go, as Skinner smacks the wall. Wow, hard hit there. I really don't think anybody expected Kurt Busch to run as poorly as he did with how fast his car was earlier today. Dylan Murray charges on Kurt Busch. That looks like Dale Jr. was also back here as well. Can't tell if that looks like, is that Mayfield in it was a red car they're battling with Hermie Sadler. No, that's Jr. Wow. He did not get going either. Earnhardt Jr. losing several positions as he falls a lap down. Him and Kurt Busch have just dropped like a rock tonight. As we have ran this entire race caution-free, as it looks like we might see some late race pit stops, depending on how things shake out. You got Kevin LePage and Earnhardt Jr. going at it. Earnhardt Jr. trying to not fall a lap down. Almost looked like we had a car smoking going down towards turn 7. And LePage slams into Jr. And Kevin LePage will go around on the front coming out of turn 7. As we have our first caution of the night. Could make for some interesting pit strategy. Unclear if anybody else hit Kevin LePage, but it looks like Earnhardt Jr. will save himself from falling a lap down. As we make our way to the caution flag. Round he went, coming out of turn 7. And amazingly, this happened right in front of Kurt Busch. Ooh. Thought Skinner might have hit him there. Dylan Murray elects to stay out. We'll see how this caution shakes out. Pace car is off. Green flag back in the air. 5 laps of racing to go. Earnhardt Jr. was scored in second. Could Jr. earn his second win of the year on a road course? He's got Jeff Gordon all over him. Tony Stewart making his way up to the 3rd spot. Getting ready to challenge Earnhardt Jr. Does the fuel hold up for Dylan Murray? Remember, Tony Stewart won on Saturday at the Pocono Roval last week. Could he go 2 in a row here and join Dylan Murray as the only other driver with 3 wins this season? He's got probably 5 laps to do it.
Don't push your fuel too far.
Junior has fallen back out of the top 5. Stewart is your race leader.
Don't let him by. Try not to hold him up either.
As we got a caution. Cars look like might have been in turn 10. Several cars running to pit road. This might get forced Dylan's hand. Ricky Craven gets turned into pit lane by Kyle Petty. Wow. Dylan has to pit. If he runs out, he's out.
One car now in pit road, beginning the long journey down the end of pit road. The crew's up on the wall. We're trying to find out if this is a scheduled stop or if there's a problem with the car. But one
They head to pit road. And we'll see how strategy plays out. Only one car came down. As Dylan Murray is going to head to pit road for a top off of fuel, which could make for a wild restart.
Looks like we were the only car.
20. Dylan Murray comes in first and is out in 24th. On to make for a chaotic restart. White flag waves here at Sonoma, sponsored by Credit One Bank. Dylan Murray passed 7 cars in one uphill climb. Question is, how much fuel do the cars up front have? If anybody pits, it's going to cause a huge wreck. I don't think anybody's pitting here. Could get interesting here. Dylan Murray, Ricky Rudd battle for 12th. Or 11th, sorry. And it looks like they're going to run straight through. Dylan Murray gets a couple more spots. Oh, there's a bit of a stack up behind. As Tony Stewart will earn his 3rd win of the season tonight at Sonoma.
Lead changes were pretty scarce.
Yeah, I guarantee there's at least 35 or 40 other drivers who wish they'd seen the lead.
The Coca-Cola car actually led the most laps.
Wow, he just didn't lead the most important one, the lap where the checkered came out.
The 64 car probably won't be hanging out after the race with the 57 car.
It should be interesting the next time they get next to each other on the racetrack. At this point, nobody wants to back down, and we could see some sparks fly.
From all of us here at EA Sports, thank you for joining us for this evening's race. We'll see you next time.
So Tony Stewart will end up picking up his 3rd win of the season tonight here at Sonoma. Mark Martin finishes 2nd. Jeff Gordon finishes 3rd. Ryan Newman 4th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. finishes 5th. Sterling Marlin 6th. Matt Kenseth ends up 7th. Dylan Murray ends up 8th. Jimmy Johnson ends up 9th. And Dale Jarrett finishes in the top 10. Jeff Burton, how about that? Coming from 36th place to a top 15 run. Terry Labonte finishing 15th. Looking for the rest of the pack. Jeremy Mayfield finishing inside the top 20 after starting 40th, which is impressive. Then kind of a middle-of-the-road day for Kevin Harvick. Still hasn't seen anything from him this season. Had a pretty good shot at Pocono and then pitted. And then you got Kurt Busch with a tough break for him. Got pit penalties, several excursions off track. Robbie Gordon. Him and Kurt Busch did have some words after the checkered flag. We'll get word on that next week. Elliott Sadler ends up 30th. Tough night for Bill Elliott. And Steve Park is the only car that fell out of the race. Tough break for Dylan Murray. led the most laps yet again. So we'll take a look at awards for tonight's race as Tony Stewart closes in on the regular season points lead to 16 points. Haven't seen a win Jimmy Johnson in victory lane this year, or Kevin Harvick even. And then, lastly, friends and enemies. Mark Martin won the pole. Dylan Murway led the most laps. Jeff Burton passed the most cars. Dylan Murway had the fastest lap, was the best rookie, and Mark Martin made the craziest pass of the race. Dylan Murway continues to choke everybody in the Rookie of the Year standings. We have 8 drivers that have won poles this season. Chevrolet continues their dominance of the manufacturer's standings. Dylan Murway, who has led all those times, all those laps, but only has 3 wins. See you next Saturday for the last NASCAR on Fox race of the season, the MBNA Armed Forces Family 400. Good night.